got a lot of talent in the house. And the girl that sings our song, Aubrey Danielle, she's here. How are you, Aubrey?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Okay, so you've been busy recording new music?
Sort of, yes. Definitely writing. Recording is a process. I've been busy recording a music video, so that's coming out soon. Yeah.
Okay, so is it a music video to one of the songs that you just recorded, or is it
Yes.
a different? Okay.
It's a song on SoundCloud, and I can't say which one yet. I can't.
That is not fair. Oh my gosh, I have to guess.
Yeah, but it's coming out soon. We shot some in San Francisco, some in the mountains.
Wow,
Yeah.
how long did that take, that process?
It took about 4 months. Scheduling everyone together. I'm in college and I have multiple jobs, so scheduling everyone to shoot at the same time and travel.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, it was an experience, but visual artists are so talented, and so I was working with really talented people who were just like had an eye for it, you know.
So what happened? You made the song and then you got some people, hey, what should we do, a video? Or you said, this is my vision for a video, can you make it come to life? What
It was
the
a little bit
process?
of both. When I collaborate with people, I like to do, it's like a dialogue. I like to go back and forth. So even like the songs that are on SoundCloud that I recorded with my producer, it was a little bit of input from both of us. So when it came to the director for the music video, he had some ideas to bring forth, I had some ideas to bring forth, and it kind of just mashed up into something I think is going to be really cool. I'm excited about it.
Okay, so this is a song we already know, and you're going to record future music.
I am going to record future music, yeah. The last time I recorded was in 2016, so it's been a while. But I'm constantly writing. Now it's just a matter of finding the right producer to record my songs. My old producer moved to Texas, so it's a process. I'm very particular about who I work with.
Did you know he was going to move to Texas, or they just throw that on you?
I knew to a certain extent. Like, we talk, and I knew that he was moving to Texas, but now it's just finding
That's
someone.
got to be hard, because that's like your right-hand person where you guys are
Yeah.
like in sync, huh?
Yeah, he was really easy to communicate with, but I'm always excited to work with new people.
How long
so-
have you guys been together?
We had known each other about 3 years before we even got into the recording process.
Wow.
Yeah, he first met me when I was performing at what was then Cup of Joe. Yeah, I was
Nice.
performing there, so that's where he met me.
Okay, so explain as much as you feel comfortable going into some of your songs. They're so powerful and they're so deep. You write about gang life.
Yeah.
And so many things, and a lot about breakups and just hard, like, romances that go awry. And you're quite young. Where do you get this inspiration from?
It mostly comes from watching other people. So you figure a lot of those songs that are already recorded, I wrote those in high school. And so, yes, I didn't go through a million difficult breakups. And
You weren't in a gang?
I was not. I was not in a gang. But actually, a good friend of mine was. And so that song in particular, he just confided in me about a lot of different things. And so hearing those stories, I wanted to write something because it just affected me in a certain way. And I remember playing that song for him, and he's like this big tough guy, right? And I looked back after I finished playing it, and he had like tears in his eyes, and that's how I knew
I can only
I got
imagine.
it right. Yeah.
That was so powerful.
Yeah, thank you.
So these breakups, because I can identify with him. So it's really from watching other people go through these
Yeah.
deep pains.
At the time, yeah, because I was just so involved in school and other things. I was very much the type that like did not care about drama, did not care about relationships, any of that. But luckily for me, I had some pretty interesting friends who went through interesting relationships of their own. So it just fueled different writing for me. I think as I'm getting older, I have more to write about myself.
Personally, yeah.
More life experiences that I can talk about. And so that's just a whole new experience for me now, being able to write about my own life. Yeah, that's something that's really new.
How old were you when you actually started writing music?
I was 6.
What came first, the singing or the writing?
I want to say the singing. I know that I was singing since I was like 2 years old. You know, one
Since
of those.
you could talk, you could sing.
Yeah, those stereotypical kids with the hairbrush. My parents put me in piano lessons when I was 5, and then I started writing piano melodies when I was 6, and singing along to them. It all just really happened very organically. The more I think about it, like now, I don't try to write music, it just happens. So it's always been something that just happened, you know, it just was naturally a part of me.
You couldn't help it. You'd wake up, there was a song, so you sat down and you...
Yeah, essentially. I don't plan out my songs, they just come to me.
How old were you the first time you ever performed?
I want to say I was 10 or 11. I definitely performed in like piano recitals, but I started performing at this little coffee shop near my house in the Ranchos, like in middle school, and I had this little fan base, this little Madera Ranchos following. It was so fun.
How did that happen? I mean, like, hey, I want to sing at your coffee shop, or did they approach you? Did they hear you sing? Well, how did it?
It was probably my dad. Knowing my dad, he probably shared my music with the barista at the coffee shop, and they were already trying to do some live music stuff, and so I started playing there. And then from there, a little bit into high school, I was performing, and I got really busy with school. Then a little bit out of high school, I was performing a little. So, yeah, it's been very like spotty, you know.
So, what are some of your musical influences?
I try to listen to a lot of jazz music and a lot of R&B. I always get compared to Adele, but I actually don't listen to her music a lot. I just think our tones are very similar. I like people like Amy Winehouse. I like people like Nina Simone, a lot of older jazz artists. And then I also listen to a lot of rap music because the lyrics are so clever that it helps me to think of ways to get plays on words. And to tell a story.
Who's your favorite style? Who's your favorite rapper?
Kendrick Lamar, right now.
That's surprising.
Yeah.
What about your favorite jazz person?
I would say Nina Simone. Yeah. Her voice is just very haunting. And so I don't know if I've ever drawn from that in any of my music, but when I hear her, I know that it's her, and I'm locked in, you know, and I'm listening, so...
Does anyone ever compare you to like Tori Amos, Fiona Apple, that sort of genre, or not?
Yeah,
really?
And I don't listen to those people.
They're so good.
I know they are.
When I hear you, though, I hear a lot. I hear a lot of different undertones, but I really like them, and I really like you, and I hear a lot of that.
Yeah, thank you. I don't listen to them very often. It's really hard to like pinpoint very specific people that I'm constantly listening to because with things like music streaming platforms, Spotify gives me a new artist every day, and I'm just like, you know, thumbing through so much new music all the time that I'm always finding new artists. I couldn't even tell you their name. I just know that I like their music.
Yeah.
So I'm one of those listeners where I'm just listening to loads and loads of music all the time, and hearing different styles of production that I like, and different beats and different instrumentation and things like that.
Have you ever collaborated with anybody else?
Like musically?
Yes.
A little bit. It's difficult. It's kind of ironic. I went to a music-based high school, and even there I didn't collaborate with very many people musically. And I don't know why exactly. I think I have a very specific writing style, and so I get people who approach me with a beat or, you know, an already pre-written track that they want me to sing on top of, but I write my music, you know, like I write the music first and the lyrics after, or vice versa, so it's just difficult sometimes to collaborate. Short answer, no, I haven't.
What's the songs, we have all your songs on SoundCloud that you want to talk about, that you want to highlight, something that maybe we don't know, or something really special to you, or a backstory?
In those songs, I would say Love Again, the last track. I wrote that before I was in middle school. I wrote that in 6th grade. And it's essentially talking about how I think people in society need to learn to love again, in terms of just loving each other and being, more compassionate toward one another. And I think that song still rings true today, that people need to be more compassionate toward one another. But coming from a 6th grade perspective, like, I already knew that there were some major conflicts in the world that I was picking up on, and so maybe people don't know that I wrote that song when I was
Michael,
that
do you
young.
have a clip of that?
Can you hear me? Are you trying to listen? Oh, I'm begging you now. People, I'm down on my knees, begging, please, oh please, could you learn to love again? She don't wanna feel different anymore. No, she wants to be the one society can adore. And Lord knows what happened to the man with a broken heart. Do you hear him? Hear him crying? People, can you hear them? Are you willing to listen? Oh, I'm begging you now. People, I'm down on my knees, begging, please, oh please, could you learn to love again?
That is so pretty. You came up with the melody and everything in 6th
Yeah.
grade?
Yeah. in
When
6th
did you
grade.
record that?
The same time as the rest, in 2016, so I was 17 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, recording it after the fact was definitely really interesting, because it's so far long after I had written it that even then, like, my perspective on the song changed. And
Did it come together like the way it sounded in your head? Did it pull off the same when you did it, or a little bit different?
I think a little bit different than, like, when I originally wrote it. Definitely a little bit different. Let's see, I was 17. There was a lot going on, like, what was that, 3 years ago? All types of different conflicts in society, and being older, I just felt the weight of those a lot more than when I was in 6th grade. So, being younger, I just took a more dramatic approach to it, but I think when I recorded it, it was just very honest and raw,
You're such an old soul. How did you get along with people your age?
I don't. I don't.
Like, you're 20 right now, so
I am,
you're not
yeah.
even drinking age. Listen.
Yeah, I know.
Listen to that voice. That's I'm sorry if I put that out there, but I'm so fascinated.
Thank you.
What a talent.
Thank you.
One more thing. What about our song that we use for the Everything Sparkles show? Can you tell us a little bit of background about that one?
Yeah, I could actually pull from personal experience from that song.
Really?
Yeah. But very, 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 like, little. It was this point, this person texted me. I had apparently been talking to them at a certain point. I didn't remember who they were. So that's when I kind of, like, based the whole song around not remembering someone who messaged me on my phone. But, it translated to something totally different when the song was over.
Well, because I was going to say, is it about someone that was kind of like ignoring,
Yeah.
someone that was ignoring you, essentially, then they started to give you attention, and then you're like, well, I didn't remember you, right?
Yeah, it's essentially kind of I'm very much on not putting energy into people that aren't worth your time or your energy, so I'm not going to make the effort to have a conversation with you if you didn't give me that same effort. So it's that sort of reciprocation. I'm only going to give you as much as you give me.
That's very, very good advice to follow. Where were you? being an old soul, and you were 15, nobody was listening to you, but you had all the wisdom in there. Thank you so much, Aubrey. Is there anything that we should know? When should we expect the music video or these new songs?
The music video should be out within the next month or so. We're still in the editing process, and we're taking our time. We're showing it some love. In terms of new music recording-wise, no clue. Like I said, I'm still in the process.
Can we show some of the video on the Everything Sparkle show? When it's
Of
out
course,
there.
When it's out.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, you don't have to debut it here. I would love to show everybody.
Yeah.
Then I can find out what song it is. I'm curious. I think I'm going to try the next hour to get it out of you in some way.
Well, it involves San Francisco and the forest.
Oh, so everybody has to go back and listen to every song on the SoundCloud. Okay, now that I know that, I'm gonna go tonight and listen back to every song.
Okay.
Thank you so much for coming on, Aubrey.
Thank you so much.
Welcome back to Everything Sparkle. We have with us Shelby Boyd. Hi, Shelby.
Hi.
So you do animation, which is such a great talent. Explain some of what you're working on right now.
Right now, I just finished up an animation that took a whole year to make. It was for my class. It was 2 classes. One was pre-production and one was post-production. So the main story that I had was a golfer and a goose have basically a fight with each other because of miscommunications, and it ends up in just kind of a Tom and Jerry kind of thing where just everything kind of goes wrong. And it was a lot of fun to make, and everyone's animations ended up turning out really well. I was so amazed to be in a class with so many great artists.
Wow, a golfer and a goose.
Yeah.
Okay, so where did the story come from?
So the story originally came from my dad. He golfs a lot, and he was telling me about some of the geese that just don't get out of the way. And he's never run the one over, but I was kind of imagining, I was like, if he actually did, that would be kind of funny. And this goose has a grudge against this golfer and comes after him and tries to attack him, because they're pretty violent too. I mean, they're not as bad as swans, but they can be pretty aggressive, and they like to hiss at you. And so there's just a lot of funny comical things I thought that could be added to a story about that.
So you came up with the whole story and you animated it as well?
Yeah, so we had to make concept art, we had to do storyboards, we had to do character designs and turnarounds, and yeah, the whole shebang.
But most animators don't have to come up with their own stories, right? Don't you usually using someone else's?
That's true. Most of the time you're usually working on one part, but because this is for students who want to learn what they want to get into, it was kind of you get to do the whole thing. So then if you realize later on, hey, I want to be specifically in this field doing storyboarding, then you know that that's what you like.
Wow, so you guys have to be multifaceted. I bet some of the students were stumped I just want to make art. I don't want to come up with a story.
Yeah, there was definitely some who liked some things over others. There was someone who even did a 3D animated film. And so they had to model everything out in 3D. Versus doing it digital like we did. So, and someone even did it traditionally, which, I mean, you have to do pages upon pages, of drawing, to do it traditionally.
So you've been drawing ever since you were young?
Yeah, really young.
And you just always knew that was your thing? You want to be an artist?
No, I want to be a zookeeper. I was an Animal Planet kid. I used to watch Steve Irwin religiously. And then I realized that they had to pick up poop. And then I realized, I don't want to be a zookeeper and take care of that.
I can see you being a zookeeper.
Then I wanted to be a writer, and I realized writer's block is about 10 times worse than artist block. And then I wanted to be a director, and I realized I'm not very authoritative. So that went out the window pretty quickly.
So this is your creative way that you can be a little bit passive.
Right. And I mean, I've always loved art. It was just I was putting it into different avenues, thinking, maybe I can draw animals and work with them, and then maybe as a director I'll still be drawing. But I think it always came back to the core of it, which is I love art and drawing, and that's my favorite thing to do.
Wow. Okay. What I'm most excited about is the CD that you did with the musical art, all that, the work that you did. Can you explain that? And did you bring a sample of that?
I did not.
Sorry, I didn't put you on the spot with that.
Oh no, it's fine.
Can you explain a little bit about that? They came to you and wanted you to do their artwork for this CD, correct? The design
Right,
work.
yeah. It was my neighbor. He came and he has amazing music. I mean, it was just amazing. And he came to me and he was looking for a logo design. And so I came up with a couple. Some of them were a little bit like, I think it was a little bit more like, I did one scary, basically. It was kind of scary. It was like a wolf skull, and it was just like way too like intense.
It was really cool, but not
yeah, but it was
for
really
their
cool, but it
cut.
wasn't. That's the thing about art is you can have you can have something cool, but it's not necessarily fitting the vibe of what someone's going for. And my mom actually came up with the idea. She was saying, what do you think about having a cowboy and an Indian arm wrestling with a sunset behind it? And I was like, maybe you should be my manager. And so I did it on my phone, and then I redid it with Illustrator, and it just came out pretty well, and he loved it, and it was great. Yeah.
Can we? We'll find it by the end of the show. Can we show it? 'Cause
Yeah,
we'll find
definitely.
it. Okay, so and
Definitely.
we'll put it up at the end because I love that. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put you.
Oh, no, it's fine.
You've done so much because I said, and you're like, how many? I'm like, because you've done. I mean, can you even? How many art pieces in your life do you think you've had that you put in a public setting?
Oh,
I know
A
privately you
lot.
couldn't even count.
a lot. There's a lot I also would wish to burn too. But
I know every
It's-
artist goes through that.
Yeah.
But, wow. What's your favorite piece personally?
Ooh, I don't know if I actually have one because I think as an artist, I'm constantly evolving and like working on new stuff. So as soon as I finish a piece that I really like and had a lot of fun doing, I'm like, okay, next project, next thing to do. And so I don't really have it in terms of like ranks. There's definitely ones where I'm like, I did a really good job on that. And then there's some where I'm like, I had a lot of fun with it, but it doesn't look great, So it's all different things that I like and don't like about each piece. Some of my favorites come from my digital narrative class, though. That was a lot of fun. That was an amazing class. It was basically making digital illustrations over the course of the semester, and just some of my best work came out of that class.
Do you have to know a lot with computers as a kid? Because, I mean, you drew a lot. Is it hard to put all that when they're like, do it like this, all the technical stuff? Because to me, that's where my mind would go.
Right, switching from traditional to digital.
Yeah, how does that work?
So I, from a young age, really wanted to go into digital, and it kind of manifested in doing iPhone art. So that's where I went and just taught myself. I had a iPod Touch when it first, not when it first came out, a couple of years after it came out. So I would use drawing apps and try to draw the best I could on there. And then once I got to college, they actually had like things for digital art, and it was like the world opened up because they have these things called Cintiqs, and they're basically a giant monitor that you can draw directly on. So it's like you're basically drawing on paper. But I mean, it's not that much of a leap drawing wise. It's more a leap learning the application of like all the different buttons, what they do.
So that's going to be like a big learning curve right away.
Yeah, yeah, it was. Thankfully, I took a couple of high school classes. It was like yearbook, and my teacher went over how to use Photoshop, and so that helped when it was like, when you're doing it for non-artistic purposes, it's easier to switch once you have that basis for artistic purposes.
So what's your focus currently?
Currently, I'm still trying to figure it out. I definitely want to go into 3D because I think that's where the industry is at. But as far as like real specifically, I'm torn between doing 3D modeling, doing storyboarding seems like a lot of fun. Yeah, maybe even like visual design, concept art kind of thing. But right now I'm like hoping to get internships so that I can really figure out what I want to do specifically.
And we can hire you for projects, correct?
Of course, yeah.
Okay, so what's, for everyone out there, and I mean, I actually had a lot of people coming to me because that do movies, and they were wanting to do posters and stuff. I think that's when you were in school, and when you were over there. Tell everyone, what school do you go to, what's your exact major?
I go to Cal State Fullerton. My exact major, I'm getting a BFA in animation.
So you would have been perfect to do a lot of movie posters, but now if people need you, what art do you want to do, and what art you're like, oh, I don't even want to mess with that?
Oh, that's a really good question. I am pretty open to doing a lot of different mediums of art. Usually what I tell people is, just message me. I'll give you a quote, and I'll tell you if I'm up to do it or not. If I have the time, if I feel comfortable, if it's not some, insane, request.
That's good. That's good that you really want it to be like a good project. So you're not going to like mess with it if it's not your
right.
thing.
And I've had really good people who've gone, for freelance, I've had great customers. They've all been like super nice, and I haven't had any like insane requests yet.
So what are some of the projects you've done besides the CD cover and stuff that people have paid you for and have hired your services for?
Yeah, so when I was 16, I illustrated a children's book. I've painted a couple of doors for teachers who wanted like a mural on their door. And I've also, I just recently drew, this lady wanted her cats to be drawn like realistically. So I did some photorealistic portraits of her cats.
Dude, they didn't have to sit down and pose for you.
No, thankfully not. Thankfully not. I'm not the best with cats. I might have gotten scratched up. No, she gave me photos, and then from the photos, I looked at them and drew them.
Awesome. What was something that was just an absolute hard that you would never want to do again? Is there a project you've had like that?
Ooh, I definitely, wire sculpture was really hard for me.
What is that?
So I was in a sculpture class, and we'd use a lot of different mediums, and one of the mediums we had to use was wire. And so you had to like take just like a roll of wire that's like copper and then make something out of it. And I was just like, it doesn't feel right. It's hard on your hands. I didn't really like it at all, and everything I created just looked kind of like funky, and I didn't like it.
Wow. Okay, so what are some, I want to see some of your samples. What do we got, Michael?
So this is one of my digital works that I did on my phone. This is kind of using more of a gradient effect. I had a friend who really liked turtles, so I did this for her birthday. This is from my digital narrative illustration class. This is one of my, I really like the colors. And then basically it was like, the people, because we do a critique afterwards, they were like, you use like every color. And I was like, yeah, I tried to. This is also from the digital narrative illustration class. When you were asking me what one was my favorite, this is a close one I really, really like this one. I really like doing pieces that are, like, you get a sense of, like, adventure and story behind them. And that's what I was really trying to capture with this. I had a character who kind of runs into some pirates, and they try to get him to sign a shady deal. And so, yeah, this was one of my favorites, just for the purpose of, like, the character interaction.
Oh, I thought this was an Armenian family. I saw the big noses and the big beards. I was like...
This is more of my realistic work. It's also from class, but it's actually, the photo originally is my dog, Boomer, and then from the photo, I drew it in colored pencil.
Oh, I like that. Boomer's so cute.
Oh, he's an amazing dog.
Ooh, I like it. This is, I see, I would live there.
Yeah.
I want to live in your photo.
As long as the volcano didn't erupt, right?
Yeah, not that part.
Also from my digital narrative illustration class, this is one of the first projects I did. I really like this one too, just for the look of it. I love drawing tropical things.
Yeah, that's nice.
This is also from class. This is another technical drawing piece using graphite powder. This is actually some of the geese on where I live, so it's on the golf course.
These are the sweet ones.
Yeah, the nice ones. This is some character design. I had a character design class, so we had to create like a mythical creature, so I chose to do a Wendigo, and so just doing some like character layout for him.
That's got to be interesting to do stuff like that, right?
Yeah, where you have to just make it up from your brain.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. This is some character turnarounds, still from the character design class. Turnarounds, I think, are one of the hardest things for me to do because everything has to be proportional, and it's not like you can draw it at a different size the next time. It has to be exactly the same every time. This is another character design. The prompt was we had to do a pig or a boar, or even like, I forget what the other one is called. There's like another one that looks like a pig. but I did a boar with like an arrow in its side, just trying to be like, you know, he's a tough guy. This is again for my character design class. We did
Caveman?
Yeah, it was a project called Level Up, so we had to do a character at like a low level, middle level, and then like the highest level you can get to. I don't know, at the end he just has like a lot of stuff, so it was like a video game kind of design thing. This was a prompt where we had about 30 to 45 minutes to create something. I think the prompt was Colossus or something like that, or Jet Fighter. I can't exactly remember, but yeah, we were given like a restricted time to make it, and that was one of our exercises, which is a really great exercise for artists.
Okay, so explain this picture to me, because so many things come to mind.
So, I mean, when I was making it, I wasn't really like actively thinking about like what it would be. It was more like focusing on the colors and the way the shapes worked. But basically, yeah, I couldn't think about what to do, so I was like, all right, I'll draw a huge human in the center, and he'll be like, you know, like the Colossus, like the giant like statue kind of thing. And then the jet fighter coming around. I just really like the colors.
So there's no symbolism in this, or any 9/11 type
Oh,
of,
no.
like, I don't know. I
No,
see
no.
so much. I guess I can
Yeah.
see it being a lot of things.
I don't actually, like, when I create art, I usually don't put a lot of, like hidden symbolism. I usually make it pretty, like, straightforward. I like doing things that are pretty straightforward. Like the one with the pirates, it's like, oh, they're trying to get him to sign, like, a deal that's not legit, you know? So I like it when it's, like, you can see it and you can immediately read, like, oh, this is just what's happening. And sometimes it doesn't make sense, but what's being physically, like, represented, like, that's what it means.
Well, that's what people want. But
Yeah.
do you ever really realize people are like, oh, I saw that, and you're like, where did you see that from?
Well, I did make a piece where it was like a palm tree and a hammock, and there was like a sunset, and everyone kept telling me, they're like, I see a smiley face. I was like, where do you see the smiley face? And it took me a while, and it was sitting in my room across from me, and I was like, oh my gosh, I see it. And I was like, I couldn't believe that I hadn't seen it before. But that's some like interesting thing about humans. We see faces everywhere, like even where there's not any.
The clouds,
you know?
you're always seeing
Right.
something.
Yeah. And rock faces, they're everywhere.
So did you do a really cool internship recently?
I did do an internship. It was more like a job. It was like it was titled an internship, but I illustrated another children's book for this woman in Santa Monica, and yeah, she gave me the script of the book, and I did about like 14 drawings for her, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, I got to work on it at school. My professors were fine with it. They were really supportive, and so yeah, that was a really great experience.
How exciting. So your clients are everywhere then? You have clients in Southern California and Central California. Do you have some in Northern California too, or you're just kind of going all over?
Oh, I haven't gotten that far.
How do people find out about you?
Usually I'll just post stuff on Instagram and hope something sticks.
That's nice. Well, you guys know where to hire Shelby when you want something done. Is there anything else we can expect in the near future that we should stay tuned for?
Just hopefully more animation and art.
Are you going to do any movies? Are you looking into doing...
If I get hired to, I would love to do movies. Yeah.
Do you have some ideas in your head of what you'd want to animate or something?
Oh, so many. It's ridiculous. There's too many.
Well, you can almost do your own now that you had to do that anyway about the geese and the golfer. You can almost do your own stories, do the whole thing now.
Yeah, I just need time.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Shelby.
you.
Welcome back to Everything Sparkle. I want to give a shout out to my friends at Next Level Design. They are responsible for all our beautiful graphics. And we are with, introduce yourselves and the gym.
Okay, my name is Dan Manriques Billy Woodson, and I'm the owner of the Manriques Academy of Self-Defense.
When did you create that? How long ago?
So I opened up this January after more than probably about 8 years with being affiliated with Angel, Halo, Jiu-Jitsu,
Angel Lopez.
Yeah, Angel Lopez, we call him Professor Halo. Before that, it was the Fresno Kickboxing Academy. So I was a student with them, and then for about 8 years, I got to do a number of things with them, and then finally decided to break off on my own as an affiliate. I have some other experiences in the military, the police force.
What branch of military?
Well, there's only one branch, the Marine Corps, right?
Yay, we love Marines around here and everything's sparkle.
Hoorah.
We do.
No, that's just a joke that the Marines always like to say. You know, we love all our brothers and sisters. We all chew some of the same dirt, but it's just, in the end, there's always some healthy camaraderie that we go back and forth with.
We have many Marines watching, actually. So
Yeah, Semper Fi Marines. Yeah. So I had some experience in, both law enforcement and with the Marine Corps. And, after working with Angel and Gabe Martin, I thought it was time to probably branch out on my own. And that's really one of the, I think, Angel loves it when students break off on their own and they can open up their own club. And there's a lot of us that have done it. There's Ike Spears, there's myself, a few others that have gone and branched out and just become part of the family.
Where are you located at?
So we're at 5757 East Clinton Avenue in Fresno, Suite 107. It's right off the freeway, so it's pretty close, just right off Clovis Avenue, right next to D-Throne.
So is this a big commitment? Like, what if I just want to go in and get a couple jiu-jitsu lessons? Do I have to sign up to some big old...
No, I'm pretty easy about that.
So we can just come in, get our feet wet, and be like, hey, is this something that we want to continue?
Yeah, I let people come in and give it a shot, give it a try. If they just want jiu-jitsu, that's fine. If they want a stand-up game, a boxing game, a wrestling game, that's fine. We offer all of it. And that's why I brought in Billy here. Billy's multi-talented.
The black belt?
Well, he's got a black belt in jiu-jitsu,
Yep.
okay, under Angel Lopez, Halo. He has severe Muay Thai background. He's the only guy. He's the only guy that can kick you in
I
the
got
head.
a green belt in Taekwondo, did that for a while, but then decided it wasn't the best way to really defend myself. It's got good parts to it, but I wrestled forever, boxing, Muay Thai.
I love
Aikido.
Muay Thai. I did dabble in that when I lived down
We-
south, and I love it. So
We teach Muay Thai and kickboxing at the academy. So.
I definitely want to come down and
People
try
want
it.
to do that, do jiu-jitsu, everything. That's the thing. You can try it out if you want to do 3 or 4, that's fine, but you're going to get addicted. It happens to everybody.
Oh, I bet. How long did it take you to become a black belt?
Altogether 9 years. I've actually been training jiu-jitsu itself for 12 years, since the early 2007. But I took like 2.5, 3 years off because of injuries and stuff like that. So altogether about 9 years, which is a long time. The average is about 10 to 12 years. My professor got it in about 7 years, so he was kind of a fast
Yeah,
tracker.
he was a fast tracker, definitely. He's dedicated.
So you teach a lot of the classes there, right?
We both do. He teaches a lot of the stand-up.
Do you have other people, or is it mainly how many instructors are there?
Whereas myself, there's Billy, we have a wrestling coach, and we have a boxing coach.
Great. So you're like covered for
I think-
almost everything.
Well, I'd like to think so. We've just produced 2 fighters. They'll be making their MMA debut
Saturday.
on this Saturday. For the 559, we're really thankful to Jeremy Luchau and Joey Perez. They do a fantastic job at 559.
Anton Hood.
Yeah, Antoine Hood. They do a really good job. Every month, they allow amateurs to fight in the cage. Now, that's just part of what we do. We like to teach self-defense. I have a huge women's class. I
Nice.
have a kids class. But every now and then, we'll sponsor a few fighters to come in, and actually, if they want to get their feet wet and jump in the cage, that's completely okay. So this weekend, myself, all our coaching staff we'll corner Cameron McKinney and Kyle Brown in their MMA debut this Saturday in Visalia, the 559 fights.
So have they, are you like their coach? Have they just been training at your gym? Explain to me.
So what we do is we put them on a schedule.
Okay.
We put them on what's called an MMA scenario schedule. There are so many dimensions to MMA: ground, transition, the jiu-jitsu, the wrestling, the stand-up, the boxing, the Muay Thai, all of it. So we put them on a transitional schedule where there's days where Billy teaches them stand-up, ground techniques, wrestling. In the event they get in some type of trouble where they maybe get choked, he teaches all that. I teach stand-up and the cardio portion of it. Because trust me, if you don't have a big cardio base, you're not going to fight for very long.
Exactly.
So, and then Mark has them for the boxing portion, and then we have a wrestling coach that deals with that, just the wrestling part. So they see all of us. So they trust, and number one, they can hear our voice. That's the number one thing with fighters. If they can hear their coach when they're involved, that's a big plus. There's some fighters that can't hear their coaches.
Or don't listen.
Or they don't listen, yeah. So But I'm pretty confident with our 2 fighters going in this weekend. They've got really good opponents. I think the matchup, they did a really good job matching our fighters with other fighters that are zero experience, just about the same age. So they did a really good job. They got to make the weight, and they listened to us really well. We test that out. We go to Halo, we use their cage, put them in there. We bring in fighters to go with them, and the important thing is, did you hear what I told you on this thing? If you heard me and you didn't do it, okay, that's another issue.
Right.
But usually, that's an art. If a fighter can hear his coach, a lot of times fighters can't.
Did you guys put them on a diet?
We let them put themselves on a diet.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I've always told everybody there's no shape like fight shape. If you want to get in shape,
right,
and train MMA and or some type of fighting art. All martial arts has its advantages, but there's no shape you can get in like that. Now with that, diet is important. And when I was training to fight, and when these guys are training to fight, I tell them not to change what they eat, but how they eat. Eat 6 small meals a day. Cut out your carbs between 3 and 5, depending on when you're going to bed, and don't eat anything about 3 hours before you go to sleep. And always eat something right when you wake up, because that starts your metabolism, and that alone will let you start losing weight. So, and I let them do it on their own. We don't put them on nothing strict. Kyle actually went, and he's like not eating any carbs. He's dieting good. He lost a lot of weight with no problem whatsoever just because of his diet. So.
Well, he's a very interesting character, because when I first met him, he didn't have any background. He had zero skills.
Wow.
And he came to me and he said, I want to learn to defend myself and my family. I just don't know how to do it. So I worked with him, and now he just looks, he's fantastic. I should have brought some video.
He's got thunder.
So he just went from being a normal person to now he's
Joe. Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
And I never asked him to step in the cage. He just, one day, it's a natural thing that happens to fighters. They start to progress. One day they're doing this, then they're hitting mitts, then they're doing jiu-jitsu. All of a sudden, they want to step in the cage. Now they want to test themselves. And the ultimate test is climbing into a cage. The percentages of people that have competed in some sort of combat sport is so minimal. I mean, the percentages are so small you can't even calculate it. So he's one of the people that's going to enter that small culture this weekend. And he'll be a changed man. It'll be a baptism by fire. Win, lose, or draw, it doesn't matter. You enter the cage, the door's shut. And I know what this feels like, because I used to fight. But number one, I referee fights on the weekends.
Real quick, I gotta add to this. This guy's my Captain America. Not only was a Marine for 25 years, a law enforcement officer for 20 years, he took his first cage fight at 47 years old.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right, and what, 2 months before you turned 48? And had like 7 or 8 of them since?
I almost had my AARP card. It was a great experience, but I knew I had to do that. They didn't have that around when I was growing up. You know,
right.
The Marines, we used to just, in Desert Storm or Iraq, we would just put the gloves on and go out back. That's just how we did things. But now there's a very organized, an organization called CAMO, the California Amateur MMA Organization, run by JT Steele and by Derek Williams. Yeah, so they run an amateur MMA organization in the state. And I think it's a really positive thing, because you have amateurs that get in there and realize, maybe this is what I want to do. Maybe it's not what I want to do. Because it used to be, you just had to turn pro. And
suddenly you're in the cage with Mike Tyson.
All of a sudden you're pro, and it's just not fair. With the amateurs, you can decide at that point, you could be one and done, or you could take 10 and then jump into the pro series. And it's just a complete journey. But Kyle, going back to him, he's one of these guys that he just developed nicely along the road. And I'm really excited to see. We call it his graduation day on Saturday. He's going to graduate.
So how long has Kyle and Cameron, how long have you been coaching them and training them?
So with Kyle, it's been probably about a little over a year.
Okay.
There's been off and on some setbacks. He's had some injuries. In this sport, you're going to get injured.
It's been about 2 years.
Yeah, but the training itself.
Oh, because of the timeout.
Yeah, he had to have surgery on his knee. I mean, people hearing this would be like, ooh, I'm out. I don't want to do that. And that's not specifically what I teach. I teach a lot of the self-defense portion of it, because if you can defend yourself against any scenario, whether it's on the street or a cage, it doesn't matter as long as you defend yourself. But I also teach the law. What is the law about if you get into a street fight?
Right, that's really important.
I get calls all the time. Hey, coach, I just got into this fight. I did this. And what does the law say? Ooh, timeout. What happened? It's just there's once you get licensed, or if you receive some sort of formal training, it's very important that you understand that you are no longer an average guy.
Your registered hands.
It's sort of along that line. That's how people understand.
Okay.
That's a myth.
It's a myth. You don't really have to register your hands.
But
It's just a saying.
But it's a
that-
saying, yes.
Like in my case, as a black belt, if I were to attack somebody, I would be charged with assault with a deadly weapon.
because you
even
know
though
how
I
to
just
do it.
use my hands, it's assault with a deadly weapon. If I explain to them, look, I can do this to you, and they attack me, that is self-defense. So
Okay.
that's the difference. It's a fine line. You don't have
That's
to.
really good that you guys teach that. That's so important, especially for young men that come in here all charged. Like, that's really good.
Most of my clientele, the majority of them are women.
Awesome.
Understanding, because a lot of times, there's a lot of single women out there that are raising kids that need to understand not only the law, but how to defend themselves. And a lot of it is, we do some kettlebell work, we do a lot of conditioning, because you have to be ready at all times. That's our mindset.
Right.
It's just, you have to be ready just in case. Whether you're shopping at Walmart or Target, walking to the parking lot, looking in the back of your SUV before you get into the thing. Little things like that I like to go over with students. But we do have the extreme part of it. Yes, we have 2 licensed fighters in the gym. They just got their license. It's a really big deal. There's a lot to it. There's the blood work. There's, for people like me, you got to have a EKG.
After the age of 40, you got to have an EKG
There's just
to
all
fight.
these medical stuff, and then you have to do a background. You have to fill out the application. It has to be approved by the state. So anymore, it's not just a bunch of thugs coming together fighting. It's a very licensed, a very controlled environment. And if I'm not doing this, I referee fights for camo.
That's awesome.
And it's just amazing to look at the spirit of the warriors, to tell them fighter ready, and you can just see it in their eyes. It's just an amazing feeling.
How long have you guys been training Cameron?
It's almost six
Yeah.
months. And he came in with the best attitude. And that kid's got thunder in his hands and his feet, and he's long, really long for his weight class. So he just took it up right like that, easy. And his jiu-jitsu came along quickly. His submission moves look great, all kinds of stuff.
So Cameron does have a little bit of a story attached to him. I worked with his mother in law enforcement for about 20 years.
Oh, wow.
Nice woman. I remember when Cameron was born. He's a twin. He has a twin sister. But I remember when they were born, and his mother, and I were great friends. And I remember she got sick, and before she passed, she said, "Hey, would you take care of my kid?" Now, I don't know if sticking a kid in a cage is the right thing. Taking care of him. I don't know if
what he wanted.
But he did come to me, and he looked for some guidance, and he requested it. Okay, I don't know what Katrina's thinking right now. There's her kids getting ready to jump in the cage, but this is something he wants to do, and we have the facility, we have the knowledge, we have the equipment to train someone to the highest degree. So we accepted it. So Cameron's he's gonna be real proud that night when there's a cage look up at his mom and just
How long does it take typically to get into fight shape and train? I know it varies between everybody, but what would be the recommendation? Like if a fight's going to come up in August, would you say start prepping 3 months? I mean, what would be the minimum time of prepping? Meal, diet, fighting, like everything?
I'll let you chime in on this. But I think what we usually, if you have experience in the sport,
Okay.
and if you stay within 10 pounds of your fight weight.
Okay.
So I'm 220. I like to fight at 185. So I would have to walk around at 195. You have to be within 10 pounds of your fight weight, okay? So if you're within range and you've been training kind of off and on, we can get you ready in 3 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're just kind of little on the heavy side, maybe we take about 6 weeks. But if you're pretty much there, like after Cameron's fight, if he takes a break, we'll only ask maybe 3 weeks of him. Because he's still young. He's not older. He's a very young man.
Well, that's better than bodybuilding competitions, so they're usually prepping like 3-4 months.
Right, and that's the thing where it really depends on the shape you already come in. On the off time, if you're not doing anything and you're just sitting there.
Yeah, I know
which
it's
is
like
what he's
longer.
saying,
That's why I like when
then-
you said the 10 pounds.
Yes.
I kind of
Sometimes they'll need an 8-week camp. Sometimes they'll need a 6-week camp. But if
Right.
they're already training the entire year, and then a fight comes up in a couple months, we don't need to hit camp hard to get them into shape until about 6 weeks out. So
Right, with like the bodybuilding thing. My wife competed in the Fresno Classic.
Nice. Oh, really?
And I just remember there's nothing worse than living with a fighter or living with a bodybuilder. I don't know what's worse. But, her meal prep,
Yeah.
the halo they call it, right? The tanning, the bathing suit, the the diet cut, the weighing of the food. Oh, living with her was tough because she was always on edge because of the diet. You know?
I know, yeah.
But she did a good job. She did 2 of them back to back, and so every sport's different. But I would say, to answer your question, probably 3 weeks I can get somebody ready.
So it's better to fight than do comedy.
It's a lot cheaper. You make.
I probably would rather fight, quite honestly, because I'm a personal trainer, so I'm always like, we're always competing, and I'm always like, I'm with you. The diet, it's like the fighting seems more fun too.
Right.
Well, it's only 6 minutes. It's not posing and flexing. Fighting it could be over in a minute. It's probably one of the safest sports out there.
Really?
Absolutely. If I see a fighter's in trouble as a referee, if I see him in trouble, I'll warn him, or if I see something that could injure the fighter. Because remember, this is the amateurs.
Right.
All the goal, these amateur fighters, their goal is to get some experience and turn pro.
Right.
So my job is to protect the fighter, and sometimes they don't know what they're doing when it comes to stopping. Like if you extend the arm, it could get broken. So my job is, hey, I stopped your fight because I want you to, number one, have an arm tomorrow.
Right.
I want you to be able to be coherent for the next fight. So sometimes they get a little mad at you because you stopped their fight. But I'm just preparing you for the next step, which is the pros. You don't want to report to the pros with liver damage, concussions, extended arm bars. I mean, just too much damage to your body. The idea is to get to the pros with minimal damage.
So what do you think's safer, boxing or MMA fighting? I know that's a weird question.
Well, I think boxing, I boxed when I was a kid, and I remember we'd do 3 rounds. If you were still standing, they give you a 10 count, but you still had to go through 3 rounds. MMA, if a guy taps, that's it.
If a guy gets knocked out, it's it. They don't let him stand back up. And that's the thing with boxing, more concussions. With MMA, much more body damage, joint damage.
You gotta
neck
choose
damage.
what you want, body or brain.
Body or brain. Which one do you want to give up? So I'd say that's the difference.
You have more options too. Like I think my second cage fight, I fought Victor Rico, who's in the pros now. He's a beautiful fighter. I knew right away that I couldn't stand with him. His hands were quicker. He was faster. I just knew, okay, I can't do that, but I can wrestle better.
Right.
So I thought, in order to survive, it's a chess game. I just relied on my wrestling more than anything. But so you have options. Where in boxing, you just have to stand there and go.
Yep.
So.
Thank you guys so much for coming out. We have your information, so anybody that wants to take a class, what's the best class for women that want to come and take a self-defense class?
Well, yeah, I do Saturdays at 9 o'clock.
Okay.
Women can come in on Saturday at 9 o'clock. You can look at it, check it out. If it works for you, great. If it doesn't work for you, great. No problem.
That sounds really awesome. Thank you guys. And do we have the clip of the album cover? Oh, you sent it to me to send to him? Where'd you send it to? Oh, okay. Because I really this was such a cool cover.
Yeah,
It's
I
worth
put
the.
a couple videos on there.
Oh boy, there we go. Oh, I see it. Okay. Oh my gosh, it's so cool. We can't send it to my phone. I don't think that would be weird. Michael, do you have it? Did you get it from? I'm trying to figure out how to send it.
I was sitting here. These lights.
Oh, there we go. There we go. I think I saved it. Oh, and by the way, for viewers, these 2 girls that came on today are my cousins.
Oh, these
I
are
didn't want to
cousins?
say I didn't want to say that at the beginning of the but yeah, so thank you so much for coming on. Let me get that picture out to you. Michael, do you have it yet or no?
9732.
The Saga of Bridget and Amanda by Carol Love.